From San Diego, California, it's the Anxiety Guru Show. Welcome to the Anxiety Guru Show. I'm your host, Paul Dooley. I hope that all of you are feeling okay today. And on today's show, we'll be discussing anxiety and your emotions. As we all know, anxiety can and will affect us physically with respect to physical symptoms of all kinds, but it doesn't stop there. Eventually, you will develop issues with your emotional state. And that's going to be today's show. But before we get into that, I want to review a little bit of news affecting the anxiety disorder community. I reported a few weeks back about how Heather Locklear, the actress, was admitted to an Arizona facility for anxiety and depression. That was back in June. Well, according to Star.com, Heather has checked out and gone home. Star.com claims that Heather was taken in for treatment in June because of a supposed suicide attempt. However, her people deny that ever happened. But either way, let's just hope that she's okay and that she's back home and recovering, hopefully. And in other news, according to earthtimes.org, as of today, there is a record 300 new mental illness drugs being developed right now. The article states that over 60 million Americans suffer from some form of mental illness, and that this effort by American drug companies is a much-needed relief attempt for people who really need it and suffer on a daily basis. Let's just hope that the drugs that they are developing are going to help more than hinder people with mental conditions. And lastly, the Chicago Tribune reports that the treatment of choice for people suffering from panic disorder is cognitive behavioral therapy, both with and without drugs, of course. So some people choose to do what they call CBT with the aid of sedatives and other forms of anxiety medication, or without. That's not surprising. And according to therapist Mona Berman, who was the expert interviewed for the article, she points out that anxiety disorders are not curable, but are very manageable, and that CBT and drugs, or a combination of the two, sometimes is the most effective plan of action. That's debatable, but interesting. The article also had a main focus or subject for the panic disorder condition. His name was Larry Anthony, and his last line for me was really the meat of the article. And in it, Mr. Anthony said, quote, "I was wrong to think I was supposed to live without fear. Learning to do things even with fear was an epiphany," unquote. So that is the news for Anxiety Guru. We'll be right back. So you're feeling down, you're feeling up, you're feeling mad, you're feeling frustrated, you feel a lot of things. And when you have an anxiety disorder, those things, your emotions, are amplified 20, 30, however many times you can imagine. Everything is ramped up. And that is the basis of today's Anxiety Guru show. We'll be talking about how anxiety affects your emotions and what you can do about it. And like I was saying at the opening of the show, anxiety not only affects you physically, but it can definitely affect you emotionally. Now, Your emotions will run the gamut, like I said, from high to low. But no matter what you feel, you should realize that this is normal because, of course, you're a human being. And human beings are emotional. So whether you have an anxiety disorder or not, you're going to have high times and low times, frustration and anger. But again, the difference is that when you have an anxiety disorder, things get amplified. So they tend to matter a lot more, at least in your mind. And of course, if it matters in your mind, then obviously it becomes an issue because we have a tendency to believe that we're the only ones in the world. What I mean by that is basically, in your mind, you're the special one. You're the individual. And everyone outside of you is just kind of living in your world. And so that's how these issues, like our emotions, can become so significant when they are exaggerated and amplified. One of the feelings that you might develop is a feeling of frustration. You may become frustrated because it seems that no matter what you do or how hard you try, you stay stuck in a constant state of fear. And this is absolutely normal. I mean, after a while, even after a month, much less 9 years like myself, even after a month, frustration will set in because at some point you want to throw up your hands and say, you know what, when is this all going to go away? Because, ultimately, no matter what techniques I try, even if you have tried medication, it doesn't work for many people, at least 50% of people. It has no effect. Maybe you've tried therapy, maybe you've tried, or maybe you haven't tried any of those things and you're kind of trying to find your own way out of your mental maze, but have failed to do so. And so you get frustrated, you feel pent up, you feel trapped, like you don't have anywhere to go or anyone to turn to, because of this natural feeling of frustration. Because the frustration comes with any task that we try to do, but we can't accomplish. So that you see the goal, you know the goal, it's very clear what you want, you just don't know how to get there, and as a result, you get stuck in your constant state of worry and anxiety, which builds frustration. So I think that particular issue is normal for all of us. I have felt it many times, where I just think to myself, seriously, like I'm pretty fed up, like I just kind of want to move on. And that's precisely why a lot of times you'll move on from frustration to other emotions that get amplified. And so you'll have a whole stage, maybe days, maybe weeks or longer, of a feeling of frustration. But this, of course, like I said, can change. And usually the frustration can turn into anger. Anger about your situation. Anger about you being the way that you've been and not being able to be yourself for a long time. Basically, the main question that pops into your mind at this point, and it's one that you start asking yourself on a regular basis, why me? What did I ever do to deserve this? What did I ever do to anyone? I'm a regular person. I'm nice. I love my family. I'm not a bad person. I don't go out hurting people emotionally or physically or in any other way. I'm just a normal person. Why is this happening to me? And so it's very easy that you would fall into the pitfall of anger, because it's very easy and natural to develop this sense of anger. And the anger is really manifested in the form of irritability. I have a post on this on my blog at anxietyguru.net, and I believe it's under everyday anxiety. You become irritable with people in situations very easily. This has happened to me so many times, and it still does all the time. With all the breathing techniques and all the things that I know, I still get